Hey, what's up, everybody? In this video tutorial, we're going to be taking a look at how to create a blow mold, a mold for like a bottle, like a Coca-Cola bottle or some sort of a plastic soda bottle. It's actually kind of easy to do in Fusion. It's a lot of fun to sort of create and actually assemble and put it together. And by the end, we're going to have a front and a back side of our mold, and we're actually going to have a bottle as well. There's a lot of great things you can do with this, and it goes right along with our presentation talking about how the blow molding process works, how to create bottles, how to use those things called preforms. So it's kind of a cool thing, fits right in with that process, and we're going to be designing at the same time. All right. One of the first things I would have my students do is come out here, go on the internet, and look up like a Coca-Cola bottle silhouette. All right, it's one of those things in the world that almost everybody almost recognizes. And when we take a look at our images, I'm going to do the plastic bottle in this case. I'm just going to find, um, an image of the bottle, and so I'm looking for a silhouette of this. All right, so I'm looking for good contrast between the two because we're going to actually use some software that's going to do all the heavy lifting for us. So I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to say I want to save that image, and I'm just going to save that image as Coca-Cola bottle into a folder and say okay on that. All right, so normally what we'd be doing is we'd be teaching kids how to trace things with Fusion. So this is one way of doing it is once you jump into Fusion, you can come out and create a sketch on a work plane, and then you can insert a canvas and just say, I want to insert from my computer. And now I can go out to wherever I've saved that image. So coming out here into wherever I've saved that, look for that Coca-Cola bottle. There it is. I'm going to say open. And then finally, I'm going to pick on the work plane I want that to go on. All right. And once this comes in, this is when we can start moving and scaling. We can do all sorts of things with this, but I'm going to go ahead and just get my origin as close as I can to the center. And I'm going to say that that is my center right there. Okay, and now once that's in, I'm gonna go ahead and say okay. All right. So once that's in, I can now go ahead and create a line. I can start this from the origin. I'm gonna kick this straight up. And then here at the top, you have to kind of watch how this works. All right. You're going to have to think about later on, you might want some faces to work with sketches and so on. So you're going to have to probably, teach your kids how to, get that straight line on the top so you have a surface later. And then they're just going to continue going around and sketching everything that makes up the Coca-Cola bottle. All right. I mean, that's really it. And then in the end, they can revolve that and they can do what it is they got to do with it. All right, so that's the first way we could do it. All right. But over time, you're going to want your kids to become more efficient with it, really getting to know the software and maybe starting to learn about some websites and things that can kind of help you along with this whole cat experience. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just finish the sketch and I'm just going to toss this. The second way of doing it is by coming out here, going online and going to this really cool website called onlineconvert.com. And when you go to this onlineconvert.com, you go into the website, you're going to see that there's an image converter. The target format that we're looking for is an SVG file because we can take SVG files and we can just dump those directly into Fusion. It's really great. All right, so I'm going to come out and choose my file that I want to convert, and I'm going to find my Coca-Cola bottle. There it is. And now I'm going to go ahead and hit start. And you're going to see it's going to be processing that PNG over, and then finally it's going to give you the opportunity to download this, and that's going to save that as an SVG for us to use. All right, so that's right there in our downloads folder. So we are all good to go. So back over in the Fusion world, we're going to say we want to insert, okay, an SVG file. We're going to insert from my computer, and that was saved in our download. So I'm going to grab that SVG, and now it's just a matter of picking on the plane I want to use. And look at that. It does all the tracing for us. All right. It worked beautifully. All right. So now this is when I need to kind of get things sort of set up for that revolve that we're going to be using here in a little bit. So I'm going to get that origin really close to where the center of that bottle is. I'm going to go ahead and say okay to insert that SVG. And now I can go ahead and I can cut this line up. Here at the top, need to make sure that we have a good line to use. So I'm going to kick that over. All right, this all came in beautifully. And then I might be giving myself just a little bit more flat space here at the bottom. So I'm going to cut that over and keep that horizontal as well. Now, the one thing, if you want to put a decal on this later, just remember that this is going to be bowed out. Okay, this is going to have some curvature on it. So you might want to come in and actually give yourself a little bit of a flat spot to use. Okay, so we can actually put that decal, like wrap that decal on it. Okay. And once we have that, we should be able to finish this up, go into Revolve, find our profile. That's all looking good. Okay. And now we can go ahead and say select for our axis, pick the axis, swing that around, and we have ourselves a plastic bottle. All right. So we're looking pretty good. All right. I'm going to go ahead and just do a save on this real quick. I'm going to call this my Coca Cola blow mold assembly. All right, so we have our Coca-Cola bottle. We're ready to go. Now, if you're looking at this, you're like, "Hey, Corey, there's no way you know what size that is," and you're right. All right, so let's go out and just do a quick inspect. And I'm going to say from the top to the bottom, what's the actual distance? And that's indicating to me that that is 9.026. So at this point, this is when I'm going to be writing this down because we're going to have to come up with the scale factor. Okay, so currently it's 9.026. I don't know. Let's just call let's just call a Coca-Cola bottle 8.5 inches. So that's going to be our target. So I'm going to pull up my calculator here and I'm going to say what I want it to be first. So that's going to be my 8.5. And we're going to divide that by where it's currently at, which is 9.026. I think I got all that in. And we can see that our scale factor we're going to use to get this to the correct side is about 0.94. Okay, so I'm going to close out of that. All right, so this is going to be a little bit easier than what it used to be in Inventor. Okay, we aren't using derive, we're just using something called scale. So if we come up here and go to modify, we can say that we have a scale option there. And we're just going to simply pick on the actual bottle. Okay, and then our scale factor, we figured that was 9 or 0.94. We hit enter, and now we can come back in and go to inspect, pick the top, flip this around, pick the bottom, and we can see it's a little bit under 8.5, but that's going to work pretty well for us. Close enough. So it's saying it's 8.484. That's perfect. Okay, so we have our bottle the correct size at this point. Now we can go ahead and start working on our actual mold itself. So I'm going to come up here, create a sketch, and I'm going to pick this right on top of the actual bottle. Let's see if we can get that to work for us. Sometimes it just doesn't want to work. All right, that's frustrating. So here's what we can do. Um, let's go ahead. Let's just do an offset on this, just to be able to cut off just a little bit. I'm gonna pull this down. Usually it's going to have no issue for us, but right now, of course, that I'm being recorded, it's going to be its wonderful self. All right, let's just come in here and chop this off. Let's just go all the way around the bottle. Let's finish up the sketch. Let's do an extrude. Okay, and let's go ahead and cut that just a little bit off the top. And now that should be giving us a pretty good landing platform there for the top. Here we go. Perfect. All right, so you can see my origin's a little bit off of the center. So let's go ahead and do a project. And I'm going to project that inner ring. Say okay. Now I have myself a new center point that I can use. And now I'm going to go ahead and create a rectangle. It's going to be a center point rectangle right here from that dead center. Pull this out. I'm going to say I want this, I don't know, let's come up with some round numbers. Let's say that's going to be 4 for my height, and then this is going to be, I don't know, let's just say 5 inches for my width. Okay, we have that rectangle built. Let's finish up the sketch. Look at this in the home view. All right, so now we have that done. Now's the time when we can say extrude. We want to pick on both of those profiles. We want to send this down. It looks like -9 inches would work for us. It's going to totally enclose it. Let's go a little bit more. Let's go with -10. For our operation, we don't want to be a cut. We actually want this to be a new body. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and say okay on that. So we can see we have two bodies to work with. Okay, we have our body number two, which is the actual box on the outside. I can turn the visibility on and off. Okay, and then we have our body number one, which is the actual Coca-Cola bottle. So I'm going to go ahead and turn both of those on. All right, so now what I have to do is go in and I have to hollow out the actual bottle. So up here underneath modify, you're going to see something called combine. Doesn't make a lot of sense if we're trying to take something away, but we're using something that kind of shows these guys going together with combine, but that's just how it works. So let's pick on combine. Our target body is actually going to be the actual box. So I'm going to pick on that first. Now it's asking us for a tool body. So I'm just going to be picking on the bottle. We're going to see it's going to be a cut operation, but the thing you have to make sure you're checking is keep tools. So I'm going to go ahead and check on keep tools and say okay. And now we can see we have body number one, okay, and we have body number two still. But if we came here to body number one and we clicked on it to turn the visibility off, we're going to see that body number two, that box, okay, actually has that cavity on the inside. It looks just like our bottle, and that's what we were kind of going for. All right, so I'm going to keep body number one off, the bottle off. Okay, and now I'm going to come out, do a mid plane extrusion. I'm going to pick on, I'm sorry, mid plane work plane. And what I'm going to do is pick on this face, flip it around, pick on this face, and we can see that that work plane goes right down the center. I'm going to go ahead and say okay. And now we're going to do something with that work plane, and that is we are going to split the actual body in half. So up here underneath modify, you're going to see split body. All right. And the body that we're going to split, it's asking for that, is going to be the actual box. So we pick it. And now we're going to come here and select on our splitting tool. So we're going to pick on the work plane. You can see that big red disc shows up. We're going to say OK. And now, I don't know if you just noticed that, it was kind of quick. We have a third body that is now in the game. All right, I'm done with my work plane. So I'm going to go underneath construction and shut down that plane. All right. And now we have bodies one, two, and three. Everything is still together. All right. We have those to use. All right. Since I want to do something with them, like make an assembly, that means we have to take our bodies and actually create them or turn them into components. So before I do this, I'm going to go into our home view and I'm going to start looking here. So body number three, we're going to right click on that, say create the component from the body. And now I can rename this. So I'm going to be calling this bottle mold front because that's the one that's closest to us. Body number two, we're going to right click on that and say create a component from it. That's going to be our bottle mold back. And then body number one, obviously, is going to be our bottle. So we're going to go to body number one and create a component from that. And we're just going to call this our Coca-Cola bottle. All right, sweet. So we got three new components that we can use. So I'm just going to come in here and turn off my front and my Coca-Cola bottle. Okay, that's our bottle mold back. Obviously, we're able to move it. So that means we're going to have to come out and ground it. So let's go ahead and ground, okay, the back side of that bottle mold. And now we're going to go ahead and turn on my bottle mold front. And now we're ready to start with our actual assembly. All right. Kind of cool, right? All right, so let's go ahead and let's get that done. Actually, before we get to our assembly, let's go ahead and let's clean this up. Let's make this look a little bit cooler. Okay, I want to mess with this back a little bit. All right, so it's just a big solid block. All right, and I just want to use this maybe as another exercise for shell. That's kind of fun. So let's use shell. And I'm going to come here to the top and the side, pick all these, the back, sides, and the bottom. And then I'm going to say that I want my inside thickness to be zero point 0.1 and say okay. All right, so we're going to be able to see the inside of that bottle as well as what it looked like on the outside. Just a really cool way to show shell, right? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up my bottle mold front. I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, and let's go ahead. Let's do shell on that as well. So here, 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 and let's do it here as well as here. Okay, let's make that the same offset thickness, zero point 0.1. Okay, that works great. So now we have our bottle mold front, we have our bottle mold back. I'm gonna turn that back on. Now let's go ahead, let's do our assembly. So I'm gonna come up here to joint, come right in here, get to that corner right there. And let's go ahead and get that to match up with this corner right here with our joint origins. The motion that we're looking for on this one is going to be revolute. Okay, but obviously we can see we got a problem. So let's go to our position. Let's do the flip on it. That's going to get those to align exactly the way that we want. Okay, and now let's go ahead and go underneath our joints. Let's look at our revolution and let's animate the model. All right, and we can see that that's working great, but the issue is it's going through it. So we have to set up our joint limits. So let's go into our revolute. Let's right click. Let's go and pick on edit our joint limits. Well, let's just take a look at our minimum. So our minimum right now, okay, is currently where it's at. I can go ahead and drag this out for our minimum. We're going to say that our minimum is going to be negative 180. Okay, our maximum is going to be at 0 and our rest is going to be at 0. Okay, and let's just say okay on that. So let's go and just see what it is we've done. Let's animate the model with our revolute. Oh, come on, highlight. There we go. All right, and we can see that that is now going to open and close. It's going to be hinged. It's going to be good to go. All right, so we got that done. Now we need to go ahead and place our bottle in there. So let's go ahead and come down and turn on our actual Coca-Cola bottle. Let's go to joint there. Let's come here to the top. Let's find an inside edge here. Let's see if we can't get ourselves a joint origin. There we go. But it's spinning in place. I want that to be a rigid. All right, we're looking good. Okay, and now we got ourselves an entire assembly here. So let's just go ahead and animate that model. We can see that the bottle is in there. Okay, we can see that those blow mold front and back. Okay, it's working for us. Okay, we're good to go. All right, so obviously we're missing some materials. So let's just go here to our blow mold front. Let's go ahead and let's add some physical material to it. And I'm just going to come down in here and I don't know, let's just throw some sort of steel on it. I think stainless steel would work great for us. I'm gonna slap that on there. Okay, I'm gonna turn off my front, look at my back. Okay, and let's go ahead with physical material as well. Let's go ahead and find that same stainless steel. Let's slap that on there. We're looking good. And then obviously our bottle, it's going to need some material as well. So let's go ahead, physical material on that. Obviously, we don't want a metal on this. We want some sort of a glass. So I'm going to bring glass up into it. And if you've ever kind of looked at Coca-Cola glasses, there's a little bit of a bluish tint to it. So I'm going to say I want to edit this. I'm going to go into our advanced, into our appearance, go into our color. And now let's just see if we can't find something that's going to give us the sort of look that we're looking for. So it's going to be a bluish sort of tint. We can say okay on this, and just drag that onto the actual bottle. All right, so we're good. All right, so we can turn those back on with our visibility. Okay, and we've got our whole assembly. All right, so if you ever wanted to go out and just sort of play around with the decal, okay, this is one thing you could do. Let's just find our Coca-Cola bottle label. Maybe we can find something online. And it looks like we got something here. Let's just take that, save the image. And we're going to call this Coca-Cola bottle label. So we have that for us to use back into Fusion. I'm going to come and talk to our actual Coca-Cola bottle itself. Maybe turn these off. Okay, so we're talking to the bottle directly. And now this is when we could use our decal. We can insert from my computer, go out to wherever I've just saved that. I was out here on my Google Drive somewhere. Here it is. And let's see if we can't find our Coca-Cola label. There it is. Okay, and now we can just pick that right onto the face. You might have to do a little bit of rotation here and then maybe do a little bit of scaling here. Let's see if we can't get that to wrap all the way around and then maybe uncheck where it says chain faces. I don't know. Let's see if that's going to work for us or not. I think we're looking pretty good. Let's go with OK. All right. And now that Coca-Cola label is right there on it. I should have probably cropped it a little bit, but hey, you kind of get the idea. All right. So we can turn this on and off. Okay. We can switch this over to our rendering environment. Okay. Maybe turn off our front. Okay. Looking at the Coca-Cola bottle in there. Okay. Now we can get some things sort of set up for our rendering. And I don't know. Let's just come here. I always switch this over to a white background. There's our white background. Okay, and you could always go out there and mess with your lighting and whatever, but I'm gonna go ahead and just do an in-canvas render. Take a look at this. That really was blue. Holy cow. All right, we can never kind of tell sometimes. All right, but there you go. That's it. That's how we create that blow mold for a bottle. All right, couple new things out there for you to use. That online convert, I know that's going to be a game changer to a lot of you. You're going to absolutely love it. Okay, there's some great stuff. All right, so anyway, that's it. That's a good time on that. Just a really cool way for kids to understand how bottles are actually made, and then how you can go in and create molds using Fusion. There's obviously a lot more you could do with this. You could create some sort of a cooling jacket around each one of these. There's all sorts of things you can do, but you can see there's all sorts of skills that are sort of sprinkled in there. It'd be a great time. So good luck with that. All right, that is blow mold creation using Fusion 360.